Welcome to Perfect Game College Baseball. I'm Brett Dolan, filling in for Daron Sutton, joined by an old pal, Hunter Pence. We're just 2 weeks into this college baseball season. It feels like 2 months when it comes to storylines. We've had that many good ones, including a couple that we're going to talk about on the show. Hunter, like a kid named Coleman Picard for Bryan College, who strikes out 12 Virginia Tech Hokies in 5 innings, the National Pitcher of the Week. And we're going to have a lot of fun just finding out about this guy and his story.
Absolutely. Coleman Picard had just an incredible outing. Excited to talk to him. He had the off speed working, gets a big win against a great offensive Virginia Tech team. There's just so much. The lay of the land is we still haven't figured everything out. There's all sorts of surprises happening everywhere. And college baseball just has so much talent this year, Brett.
Indeed, they do. And Craig Cozart's going to join us as well. Perfect Game's National Scouting Coordinator from the Coastal region. We'll talk about the handful of unbeatens left. LSU even lost to Iowa. There's a few teams left that have a chance to keep going for a while. But the story, Hunter, is upsets. I mean, the number of mid-major teams winning games against power squads seems like it's at an all-time high. And we're going to talk to Geoff Loomis from Portland. His squad, the Pilots, go into A&M. They take down the Aggies Friday. They take down A&M Saturday and just about got the sweep on Sunday.
Yeah, they are kind of the buzz of the nation right now with what they were able to accomplish at College Station. And rightfully so. Geoff Loomis has just been continually getting better and better. He's got a veteran team. They're working on all cylinders. And I am excited to get to the heart of what's been kind of the engine to this success. What's been the engine to the constant growth? Because I don't believe in coincidences, Brett.
Well, he's a Giants fan, too. He didn't tell us that until after the interview ended, but he was excited to talk baseball with you. He followed your championship teams. Now he's trying to build one on his own.
Yeah, and he's off to just doing great stuff, and you're not going to want to miss what he has to say and what's going on in Portland. I'm following, and I'm a fan, that's for sure.
Indeed. Geoff Loomis, one of our guests today, Craig Cozart as well. Coming up next, Coleman Picard of Bryan College right here on Perfect Game College Baseball. Perfect Game College Baseball rolls on, joined by Coleman Picard of Bryant College. In his second career start, all he did was strike out 12 in 5 innings to take down a ranked Virginia Tech team, coming off a very good start, number one. But Coleman, congratulations. You were the Collegiate Baseball National Player of the Week. Just tell me about the start and the success you were able to have against the Hokies.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun being down there. It was a super cool environment. We get this opportunity pretty much every year to start the year playing against really good teams. Coach gave me the ball on Friday, kind of get us back on track after a tough weekend before. And, I was kind of just able to settle in, find a groove, and just a lot of fun.
Yes, Coleman, you definitely found a groove. Obviously starting this season, last year you were a bit of a reliever. I think it's exciting to ask, what did you do at the end of last year, the offseason summer ball, and then coming into this year, in particular, was there any intention or any adjustments or anything you worked on over the offseason to come in? Because you're obviously off to a great start. And whatever it is, I need to find out.
Yeah, right. I think at the end of the year, I had a pretty good idea that, I wanted to be a starter and move into that role. We had a guy, Colin Lowe, our Friday guy last year, signed with the Marlins. So the opportunity was there to kind of slide in and get that spot. And so I went into summer ball, started up a little late, was able to play, got a couple starts, and I really enjoyed it. Really liked the routine you get in there, and kind of carried that over to the fall and the winter, and was able to kind of win that job and get out there and get the opportunity to do what I did on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. But so was that the only goal, was to be a starting pitcher? Did you have anything that you were working on specifically? Like, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to work on a changeup. I'm going to, was there anything in particular you were working on?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. I went home last year about 180 pounds. So I'm up to over 190. I'm still a little on the lighter side, but I'm working on that. I tweaked a couple pitches. The curveball I had on Friday is a little different. I went to a spike grip, and it's coming out a little harder. Velocity's up a little bit. There's kind of everything kind of went into it, a little change of routine, everything, and kind of it's come together here.
Coleman Picard of the Bryan College Bulldogs joining us, National Player of the Week for his 12 strikeout performance against Virginia Tech. Coleman, sometimes pitchers know early that they've got it. Other times they find it. I'm curious what the case was like with you. And when you start picking up strikeouts, do you think this could be a special night for me, or did it just continue to build?
It was kind of an interesting start. Guys at the plate for us were able to put together 2 runs early and give me the lead. From then, I kind of just felt like I could settle in, attack the zone, and challenge them with what I had. The strikeouts, I'm not really sure. They kind of just rolled together, getting out of that second and third in the first with 3 straight, which kind of gave us some momentum that we needed, a big 0. And, from there, I think we had a plan to attack with off speed and breaking balls, and it just kept coming together inning by inning. I came out of the game. I had no idea how many strikeouts I had. People just congratulating me, letting me know how many I had. And it kind of set in after I knew I was done.
I'm glad you got the win. I went back and I looked at your first start, which was fantastic. 5 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. You lost the win. The team gave up a walk-off grand slam to end the game, which took you out of the win column. So I'm sure it was satisfying not only to get the win, but obviously have the team get the win against a ranked team.
Yeah, I think, we talked about the difference between last year. I was kind of in a closer role. And, as a starter, you go out there and you do your job for 5 innings. But then, for the next 4 innings, I was in there being a cheerleader, cheering my guys on. And it was great to have guys come in, pitch really well, put up a few more runs. And, yeah, it is relieving, to get that win. And it's nice that it goes to my name, but there's a lot of guys who contributed to that.
Absolutely, Coleman. And you mentioned something earlier where you were talking about, the split curveball. And as I was reading about the game, obviously you can look at the numbers and it's great. Yeah, you struck out 12. This is a great offense that you were facing. And it talked about that the breaking ball really had them off. And these are the things that I love to hear about when a pitch is really working for you. What was it, like a little bit of the grip that you changed? Can you introduce us kind of to your pitch arsenal and specifically that curveball?
Yeah, right. So I have the slider and the curveball, which is kind of new last year. I put the slider on last year. But the curveball, I was throwing kind of a 2-finger grip like this. And it had a little bit of pop. It was a little slower, averaged about like 73, 74 last year. I talked actually with our hitting coach a little bit about shortening that up and getting it harder so it tunneled better in my fastball. So I moved to start spiking it a bit like this. And then I also have like I said, the slider off the fastball. So kind of just switching the looks, giving them two looks, 2 planes to kind of work off of. I think that really helped, and it helped tunnel everything together.
And your fastball as well, is it one fastball, your 4-seam? Are you sinking? Because if you're working the curveball, the knuckle curve off the fastball,
right,
is that the 4-seamer?
Yeah, it's a 4-seamer. Try to pretty good spin rate numbers and ride to it. So we just 4-seam. I kind of cut the 2-seam a couple of years ago, but I think it's kind of complemented my arsenal a little bit more to just have the 4-seam and then the 2 breaking balls off it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And sorry, Brett, I was just like kind of an addition here. I'm going to jump in. I guess the other thing I wanted to ask you is you mentioned a routine. And this is something, obviously this is your first year starting, and you said that you kind of went into the offseason with a little bit of that on your mind. Did you develop a routine over the offseason, and what is that process for you?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, pretty much every side of it, the nutrition side, the warm-up side, the catch play side, the bullpens. I think it's nice. I thought I always worked better as a kind of a 7-day in the college level, a 7-day rotation, having that planned out throughout the week. It's pretty simple. Day after start kind of is light, or a day off, and then get in the weight room the next day or two, into a bullpen in the middle of the week, and then out, and then you're starting. In terms of before the game, it's a little bit of everything with that too. Some soft tissue, some dynamic warm-up mobility work. It's kind of, there's a lot that goes into it, but I kind of figured it out now, and my pitching coach does a good job keeping me on track and on time with it.
That's a good segue, Coleman, because you mentioned spin rates earlier, and I'm never sure what programs have what tricks and tools and all the different cameras and the analytics. What do you utilize? What's important to you when you guys are throwing a bullpen? Just that feedback from your pitching coach, whether it's video, numbers, analytics, or any of the above. Yeah,
right. Well, we do have the Rapsodo here. No TrackMan yet, but we're working on it. It's the same thing. It's a mix. There's the competitive side of it. There's the execution side of it. But it is nice to have the iPad right there. You throw a pitch, you check in, see if everything's spinning right, moving right, feedback from the catcher. There's a lot that goes into it. But some days, like before my outing on Friday, we were really trying to hone in on the slider down into lefties, because it wasn't as sharp the start before. So having the Rapsodo there, throwing a pitch, seeing what I was feeling mentally, and then seeing if the iPad was backing that up.
I like having guys on from the Northeast and some mid-major programs, certainly when they have great performances like you. Hunter, I can't keep track of him. He's all over the country. He's in California. He's in Texas. I'm kind of an SEC guy too, so I get locked into that conference. Bryant is a good program. Tell us something about the program that maybe we don't know, maybe we should know, something that's unique or different or just something that you really enjoy being part of Bryant baseball.
Yeah, I think the big thing with us is we have this real identity. I think this is far before that I got here, that we feel like we can go down and at least compete, throw our best punch with pretty much anybody in the country. We play some really good teams. We've been on both sides of it, but I think we have this identity, and we talked about it in the middle of the week that we didn't have we didn't have a fantastic weekend the first weekend of the year, but we were right in two of those games, really close 1-run or extra inning games. And we just felt like we could replicate that same effort against Virginia Tech and go down there. Lucky enough for me, I've been a part of it kind of back-to-back years with East Carolina last year and Virginia Tech this year that, I think that's just a program identity, and that's just kind of who we are. And it's really fun to be a part of.
Heck yeah, just gritty, getting after it, and that's exciting stuff. Lastly, for me, I had two quick ones. I just wanted to hear from you a little more technically with regards to pitching, and I love just kind of hearing how different successful pitchers do things. Do you feel like what's most important to you is mechanics, release point, timing, something else, or give me a little bit of what you want to feel to when you're going good?
Yeah, I think the biggest mindset shift I made, kind of adopted this past couple of years, is just taking a pitch at a time. Really, when I'm on the mound competing, just executing a pitch at a time. It's kind of funny because we have the wristband, and coach calls pitch from the dugout, which I kind of like. I'm able to throw a pitch, reset, attack, and execute the next one. I think on the mound, it's big to just be in that kind of mindset. Out of the game, whether it's bullpens, working on mechanics and spin rate, plyo balls, everything like that. I think it all leads to success. But I think when I was on the mound, the big shift that I've made this year is batter at a time, pitcher at a time, and just seeing how long I can go before the ball is taken out of my hands.
Awesome. So all that mechanics and timing and release point is for off the field, and then in the game, it's just feel, athleticism, get after it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's still definitely a big emphasis on the mechanic side and the pitch design side, but yeah, in the game, it's all about executing.
Final thought, Coleman. I really enjoyed you talking about Bryant baseball and the grit, and this is a question that we'll finish on, but I'm also curious maybe to get Hunter's reaction as well, because you guys have been traveling a lot. Rhode Island's not hospitable for February baseball. Mm-hmm. You're going to Liberty this weekend. You were at Virginia Tech, and I got the MapQuest out. That's about 10-ish hours, maybe. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's right about it. That long.
So you guys leave Wednesday night. You drive through the night, and there's no hotel stay, so you're able to get there Thursday in practice before you then finally get into a hotel Thursday night before your Friday start. And you're the guy, of course, making that Friday start. So, that's where the grit comes in, I got to believe, right? That's not glamour. That's not flying charters and staying in the Ritz. You guys are you guys are playing because you love this.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, but we talked about it. We do things a little bit different than some other programs, but we kind of just embrace it at this point. A lot of guys have been through it a couple of years now. I've been through it. It's my second year kind of doing this round trip in the first month of the season, but it's tough. It's tough. There's no way around it. But at the end of the day, you get to go out and you play. You get the opportunity to play every weekend, and we're glad to do it. And we play some really cool teams, some really cool environments, and it's a blast. And it gets us ready for the end of the season when it really matters.
You'd expect a Bulldog to be tough. Well done. I really enjoyed the conversation. In addition to just talking about yourself and the program, you're a great representative, Coleman, and congratulations on what has been a great start to your season.
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
That's Coleman Picard of the Bryant Bulldogs. We'll come back with more Perfect Game College Baseball in a moment. Welcome back to Perfect Game College Baseball. We're going to welcome in Craig Cozart. He is our Perfect Game College Baseball guru, and there's so many things after a couple of weeks to talk to Craig about. But, Craig, I'm sitting in Fayetteville, Arkansas, calling an Eastern Illinois rear end kicking of the Razorbacks, nearly run ruling them. Well, I'm thinking about Texas A&M having to rally to avoid being swept by the Pilots of Portland and UCSB winning games. And I mean, the upsets to me in the first couple of weeks, maybe they shouldn't be surprising considering the age of college baseball, but there have been some eye-popping wins and losses through 2 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's just so much parity across the nation now. You can't take things for granted. When I was playing 25 years ago, you used to take things for granted. You'd bring in teams from the north and knew that, we should be 3-0 on the weekend, but that's no longer the case. Development is so great across the nation. Everybody's rolling out power arms nowadays. So you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been wild, the college baseball scene. There's quite a few undefeated teams, and one in particular I believe they're undefeated. I wanted to ask about because they've been hot. They've been doing a lot of things right. I wanted to talk about Wake Forest and what's going on over there and your thoughts. I think we hit on them last week and just kind of hear from you, Craig.
Yeah, they are 9-0. So they played a ton of games early. The thing about Wake Forest is they're very complete. They've got depth and length on the mound. They've got 3 legitimate starters, and they could go deeper than that. But the back end of their bullpen has been absolutely wipeout. And then you get to the offensive side of things, and it's just been, a slugfest. It seems like every game they're putting up 18 runs. That lineup has such balance. You got guys like Brock Wilken. I've seen him hit 2 opposite field home runs, 400 plus feet. And then you got Adams. I want to say it correctly, but Cecere, who's a left-hander, leads the nation. Him and Brock Wilken are tied with 6 home runs. So they just bludgeon you with the bats, and then they absolutely shut you down. I think their ERA is, in the ones, with like a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio as a staff. So they're just complete. And the thing that really has separated them this year from what they've been in the past is they're really athletic on the infield. At times, they were kind of, big guys that could do damage, but they weren't real mobile on the infield. Now they can really do it on the defensive end as well. So I don't really see any weaknesses with this club right now.
Yeah, they have been a team that's been kind of exciting to hear about and read about for me. I haven't seen them with my eyes, but great to hear that from you, Craig. And then secondly, for me, another team that as I'm reading through, the top players and it seems to be some crazy talent. And we didn't talk about this before, but I want to hear a little bit about what Florida's got going on. The Cagliani kid, the Shohei Ohtani comparisons. They also got that young pitcher from Southern Mississippi, I believe it was, that went through the transfer portal. Had a great outing this week, touching 98. And just kind of your thoughts on Florida as a whole and their power.
Yeah, we've kind of we feel like they're better than where we have them ranked right now. But the teams that we had ranked ahead of them preseason haven't done anything to really trip up, so we haven't been able to move them. However, it's a huge weekend. They play Miami in a 3-game set this coming weekend. Florida is no doubt a national title contender. In fact, if you look at their body of work, they may be the best team in the nation right now. You got to start with Wyatt Langford. He's a guy that could honestly challenge to be 1-1 in this year's draft. He's a 5-tool guy. He's just really getting going right now. But yes, you have to talk about Jack Caggs, as they're calling him, Caglianone. I mean, unbelievable tool set, right? Is he the next Shohei Ohtani? I don't know. He's left-handed. He hit 3 home runs on Sunday that were 110 plus miles an hour. The first one being 118 miles an hour off the bat. And he topped out at 98 on the mound as a starter. So, just an unbelievable tool. And he's physical too. This is a big league body as well. So Florida's a team that, their starting rotation arguably can be as good as Tennessee's, which, we've been proclaiming is the best rotation in the nation going into the season. But as things have developed, Florida looks absolutely just as strong on the mound. And then positionally, especially with, what Jack Caggs is doing, they look like they're pretty difficult to handle.
Let's segue right back into that Tennessee Volunteer situation with Craig Cozart. Tony Vitello did not participate this weekend. I guess you could say it was a 3-game suspension. He's back, and so is Maui Ahuna. And this seemed to be where this issue kind of centered around one of the top players, top infielders in the game. And I'm glad for Maui that he's able to get back and play because obviously he's going to be a huge part of this Tennessee team.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see him. I mean, he's a first round defender, no doubt. Okay, the only question mark, in the Cape and then with Team USA was the swing and miss. He likes to get after it with the stick. There's quite a bit of swing and miss for what he brings to the table power wise, although he does have juice in the bat. But he's a no doubt defender. I think he gives them a totally different dimension from a defensive standpoint, a lot more flexibility and a little bit more swagger on the defensive side of things, as if the University of Tennessee needed more swagger, right? It seems like he may have been, victim to, the transfer portal and the NIL world that we live in today. But glad that the kid is going to get out there and, get a good 50 plus games under his belt.
I'll stay on the controversy theme. Craig, I was in Globe Life for the event in Arlington for the first weekend where the pace of play, I think, kind of came into play and, had a chance to talk to a lot of coaches. And I think to a man, they don't like it. To a man, I tell them it doesn't matter if you don't like it. It's here to stay and it's having an impact. I think players are going to adjust in just a short amount of time. In a couple of weeks, I have seen faster games. I've seen faster pace. I think that was the designed effort. It seems like people are picking up on this maybe just as fast as we assume that they might.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and I might take a different angle on this. If you watch college softball today, and that is a great product, right? It's fast paced. I mean, it's exciting. There's very little dead air downtime. So, baseball is making that adjustment. We've already seen it significantly in our spring training games, right? It's just a matter of adjusting, just like anything else, right? What is baseball? Baseball is a game of adjustments, right? If you can't make those adjustments, you're just not going to survive anyway. So I think we're evolving in the right direction. There's more urgency put on, filling up the strike zone. You want to see plays be made, right? You don't want to just see the game drag on, guys kicking dirt, stepping out, fixing their batting gloves. So I think it's going to make our product that much better.
Interesting, Craig, and it definitely is an adjustment period for me right now. Like, it doesn't matter what we think, it's here, and we're gonna have to figure it out. But it's tough to watch games end on a time violation. I can't swallow that. It hurts me, but I gotta be positive here. So, Craig, I'm gonna leave it open ended for you. Who's been the biggest surprise this season? I would like to hear your biggest surprise, and then also who you would say is the biggest sleeper of all.
Okay. Well, I think you have to go to Tallahassee and Florida State with what Link Jarrett has done with that team to this point. You have to say they're the biggest surprise. We have them inside of our top 40 just based on the talent that we know they had. But they've done a great job in putting a belief system in place. You don't go to TCU, Fort Worth and win a series, especially after the weekend that they had just come off of. And it was profound. The first two wins were profound. And then, of course, they lose, 3-2 ball game on Sunday. Very easily could have come away with the sweep. They just didn't get the big hit late in the innings like they had been. Link, Rich Wallace, Chuck has done it. They've done a great job there. Those kids are playing with a ton of confidence. They took a lot of flack for putting Kroll in the bullpen because he is their best arm, but he's been special for them at the back end of the bullpen, and it's absolutely been the right decision to have him. They have people that can get them into the middle innings, but they needed somebody that could get them home. So Florida State, I think, has been the biggest surprise. A sleeper right now, and I hate to stay close to home, but Duke. What they're doing, and last week, and I know Baylor's in a down cycle right now, but Chris Pollard has got that offense absolutely ticking. They scored 52 runs last weekend against Baylor at home, and that's at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park, AAA Stadium, so it's not a Cracker Jack box. It's not just a pop-up to hit it out of there. But the thing that has them on track is they're really pitching at a high level. They have a quality rotation. They've got some back end of the bullpen pieces they can mix and match with lefties and righties. So, we'll see if Duke has staying power. Obviously, the competition is going to pick up quickly, but they're kind of a sleeper right now because they're absolutely crushing the baseball.
Greg, I'm curious of the undefeateds that we have remaining. Maybe Wake might be the obvious answer. Which of those teams has the greatest staying power or could have the best record at maybe 2-3 weeks from now as we look up and kind of reflect back?
Yeah. It seems people are sleeping on the Virginia Cavaliers a little bit. Coach O'Connor, every year he does this, right? He hides in the shadows, and the next thing you know, they're in Omaha and competing to win a national title. He has a tremendous staff. Kevin McMullen could be a head coach at any Power Five in the nation. And those guys have been together for almost 20 years. They're doing it. So they are a team that has really retooled their pitching. They look like they're really solid on the mound. They have Jake Geloff, who's, middle of the order, no doubt, power stick, probably going to be back into the first round. They have the star power. They have the fresh faces, but they're just playing really, really clean, fundamental baseball. So don't be surprised if you don't look up in another couple of weeks and here they are at, 14-0. So you just never know. It's tough.
Hey, I got to celebrate my Iowa Hawkeyes getting a win over LSU. Rick Keller's got a good program. They have a tough time with RPI with their non-conference games, just kind of being always on that bubble. But that was a nice win for the Hawks in Round Rock over LSU.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Rick Keller's been doing really special things for a long time there. And people don't really know this, but they were kind of on the forefront of a lot of the analytics. They were the first team that I was aware of that actually put TrackMan on their scoreboard during practice so that players could see, hey, this was a strike, wasn't a strike. This was the spin. This was the ride on the fastball. This was the launch angle, the exit velocity. So they were kind of ahead of the curve when he got there and started doing things like that. So, they do a great job developmentally, have great facilities. Rick Keller's obviously one of the best in the business, and they have legit arms this year. I mean, Brody Brecht is unbelievable. Now, he lost the zone a little bit in Round Rock, but the guy's up to 101 miles an hour with a legit 88 to 91 mile an hour slider. It's literally unhittable when it's in the strike zone. I watched some film on it, and, LSU's probably got to be one of the top 2 or 3 offenses. Well, you would have to say the top offense in the country, right? And he was making them look absolutely silly. They couldn't catch up with the fastball, and they had no chance on the breaking pitch. So with Ty Langberry, Marcus Morgan, by the way, we're talking about Brecht, but Morgan was 93-96 last weekend as well with a cutter in the low 90s. So they have power arms at the front end. Offensively, they're pretty well stacked. Keaton Anthony is probably one of the most underrated two-way athletes in the nation. So they've got some physical guys that can do damage with the bats, but it's all about the rotation for them.
Greg, finally, where can people find you, read you, follow your social media, and where will you be this weekend?
This weekend, I actually will be in New York working a showcase event. So I won't, unfortunately, be at the college level this weekend. Duty calls, and we'll have some great talent up at an indoor showcase in New York. It was exciting. I was in Virginia last weekend, and we had a kid come out of nowhere that was low 90s with high spin. So we're still beating the bushes and trying to find that next wave of talent on the amateur level. Follow me on the Coastal Twitter account. I'll be hitting a lot of college games midweek as well as the weekend, and as we move forward. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Indeed. That's Craig Cozart, our Perfect Game college baseball expert. We'll come back with more Perfect Game college baseball right after this. And welcome back to Perfect Game College Baseball. Let's talk Portland Pilots baseball. They seem to be the name that people were talking about around the country this week as they went in to College Station, Texas, and took down the number 5 ranked A&M Aggies 2 out of 3 and almost swept the series. Their head coach, Geoff Loomis, joins us. And Coach, first of all, congratulations. It must have been one of those weekends that when you get home, all of a sudden you realize how many friends you have and how many texts and emails are coming your way.
Absolutely. It was definitely one of those weekends, especially after Friday night's game. You get done with the game and you get on the bus and pull the cell phone out and there's just messages from, people I haven't heard from for a couple of years. So, I know people are excited about that win. And so it's fun to be able to reconnect with some people.
Yeah, Geoff, that is a big weekend, and also you're off to just a great start in general. And Geoff, one of the fun things, looking at your career as a whole, is something that's been really, really stands out to me is that obviously you win a lot, but also you just incrementally keep getting better and better. And you built such a long and strong program there in Portland that doesn't get the news that it deserves. But can you talk a little bit about your history and incremental progress and why? I don't believe in coincidences. Can you just what is kind of your philosophy, and are you changing year to year, or is it just more of the same buildup?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I definitely feel like we have to change year to year. This is my 21st year as a college head coach, and things are a lot different than they were when I first started back in 2000. And so, yeah, I mean, you gotta evolve, right? You gotta evolve as a coach, and you don't want to be a dinosaur, and in this industry especially. So we've had to, I think, over the course of time, that's one thing I've really taken pride in, is that we've been able to adjust to the different environments, and it's still the same system, with add-ins here and there, and try to simplify things as the years go on. But we've found success, honestly, in just building a great culture here. We've surrounded ourselves with fantastic young men, and it's a pleasure to be with those guys every single day. And that makes the job easy when you get to go out and go to work with these guys. They're really hard workers. They bring the hard hat mentality every single day, and fit my personality very well. So yeah, I mean, it's been a process here. Hunter, I came in. This is the 8th year I've been here, and when we came in, a quick story would be that when I first got here, that hitting facility just wasn't being used as much as it should have been. And nowadays, kids are really bought into it, and they're in that facility all day long on their own, getting better. And as you know, I mean, that's part of it is we're only allowed so much time together, and what kids are willing to do on their own time is really the difference maker between, it's the difference maker in their career. Do they continue to get better day by day? And it all starts with hard work.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And it's so cool to hear you talk about how, culture is something that's really important to you, and that's what's been built to the strength and to the level that you're at. Obviously 8-1, and you mentioned offense and getting in the batting cage. I was looking at your on-base percentage as a team. Offensively, you have a .423 on base percentage so far this season. These guys have been putting in work, having good at bats. Collectively, the slugging is good as well. But the on base percentage, is that something that's somewhat of a part of the offensive culture? Is this something that's intentional, or is this just a product of hard work and good at bats?
No, yeah, it's intentional. We work really hard actually on 2K offensively, and we spend time during the week just trying to, learn how to battle through tough at bats. And I've got great assistant coaches who can still throw pretty mean sliders at guys. And so we spend time really working on just putting the ball in play. Once we get to 2 strikes, we know that the count really favors the pitcher and all those 2-strike counts. And so we're working hard at trying to put the ball in play in that count. And, and it's intentional on the base on balls too. We led the conference last year in walks, and that was one of our primary goals last year, was to increase our on-base percentage and limit our strikeouts. And you started to see that. We started to have better on-base percentage. We definitely started to see more quality at bats out of the guys. And you got to swing at pitches you can hit. You're only as good as the pitches you swing at, right? So we talk a lot about early count stuff and trying to find good pitches that we know we can drive. And then when we get to 2K, we got to grind and battle.
Geoff Loomis joining us, head coach of Portland. Now, of course, he had a pretty good playing career in his days at Portland, a career batting average, I think, of .372, had an 80-hit season in 1992 and a 9 RBI game. But, Coach, as I'm looking at your stats, and I know the first week or so your team was like 3rd in the country in batting average, you got a young man, and last name Klemp, who's hitting .581 after 31 at-bats. Is he coming after some of your records?
Oh, there's so many guys on the roster right now that are coming after those records. And to be honest with you, I'm ready to see them go. That it only benefits us in the program if some of those things go away. So Nick Klemp has gotten off to an incredible start. The first weekend with Utah Tech, after our 3rd game, he was batting over 800. It was just an incredible weekend, and it continued at A&M. He's still, I think, just south of hitting under 600 right now. His on base percentage after the first week was over 800. I mean, it's just he had a really special first week, and he got a lot of compliments from the A&M coaching staff as well, just in how he goes about his at-bats, and had some success in College Station too. So it wasn't a fluke thing. The young man hit over 300 last year for us, and he's an everyday catcher. So, it's not like he's out there playing in the outfield and gets to think about hitting. And, he's out there trying to call pitches and block pitches and throw runners out and control pitching staff. And there's a lot on his plate. And, man, he's a heck of a hitter. The one thing, to go back to Hunter's comment, is, man, he is tough to strike out. And we spent, the entire preseason, we were able to play almost 100 innings of inter-squad scrimmage stuff, and Nick didn't strike out one time in those 100 innings of inter-squad. So he just refuses to strike out. He has an ability to find holes, and he's been hitting line drives all over the place. It's just been really special to watch. I after that first week, I couldn't recall a single time I'd seen a hitter have a weekend like that. Absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. You go back to Saturday, because he had 3 hits, and you guys then finished off the series win, had multi-hits in every game, and had 18 hits. When you're a week and a day into a season, you have 18 hits, you feel like you've had 2 months worth. But, Coach, I'm curious about the win on Saturday, because you had the huge 9th inning on Friday, you win the game, and that must have been extremely gratifying. Would you come out the next day and you win 4-1? There had to be some satisfaction as far as just playing good baseball and now winning a series at A&M.
Yeah, we played on Saturday extremely well, and we played well in all facets, and that was really important, I think, in our growth, because that first weekend we played terrible defense, and we got away with it because we were scoring so many runs. But then we went to A&M, and like you said, the first night we had the big 9th inning. We had a lead. I think it was a 1-run lead, and then we had a big 9th inning. And then I think it would have been easy for our guys to say, okay, we went in there and beat the number 5 team in the country on Friday night. But we really try to focus just on Friday night being Friday night, enjoy that, and then let's move on. And we got to Saturday and did our normal routines. Woke up and had breakfast together and rolled out, got in the weight room, and did our scouting report for that day. And we just try to treat it like it was another day. And I know that's cliche, but that's exactly what we try to do. And so our guys on Saturday responded. They came out and played extremely good baseball, no errors in the error column. We pitched really well this weekend. And, it forced those guys to put ball in play, and we cut down on our walks on the pitching staff. And when you play good defense and you're throwing strikes, I think good things happen there. So, that was a really good win for us on Saturday. Not just in that we beat a good opponent, but that we played the type of baseball that I think we need to play to win a championship.
Yes, Geoff. And, we've mentioned a lot about the offense, and the fact that you had 100 innings of scrimmage and he didn't strike out. Your pitching staff has been incredible as well. And I'm just going to run off things that get me excited. You're talking about throwing strikes, but it's one thing to throw strikes, but also strikes that aren't hittable. 76 innings pitched, 92 strikeouts as a staff. A 3.79 collective ERA. Talk a little bit about your staff and they're throwing strikes, but they're also not giving up hard contact and they're getting out. So, solid group and it looks like such an exciting start. But just tell us a little bit about the strikeouts that they're getting on top of throwing strikes.
Yeah, I think it's we've got I've got great assistant coaches. They do a ton of planning and getting ready for our opponents. Those guys we were positioned really well this last weekend to face A&M, and I think we had a good game plan going in, pitching against those guys. And to speak to your question, we don't necessarily have a stable full of guys that throw 95, 96 miles per hour. What we do have are guys that compete inside the strike zone, and so it's super important for us to be able to throw not just strikes, but to throw to the edges of the strike zone and not just be throwers, but actually be pitchers. We're looking for guys that can actually go out there and spin a baseball a little bit. Our guys are, the guys that threw this weekend, 90 to 92, right? That's not going to break any records, but those guys know how to pitch and can throw changeups and split finger and throw slider, curveball, and keep guys off balance. That's really what it's all about, right? Is keeping guys off balance on the offensive side. Nobody says you have to throw fastball and a fastball count, and we just try to look at our opponents and pick each guy and try to find a weakness and then try to have a game plan going in and see our guys perform to that. So, I think part of the success this weekend was just our ability to throw strikes. And when we did leave it over the middle of the plate, boy, they punished us on.
Spin the ball, mix and match. Pitching is deception, and there's a lot of people with a lot of success that aren't throwing in the upper to mid 90s. And so, yeah, I live for that. That's a big part of the game. Exciting to see your staff doing that. And obviously, I had mentioned over here, but I think there's another question I'd rather ask. I wanted to ask about a player, but this one in particular. 8-1, you mentioned culture. I want to dive into a little bit of what is your culture and what is the confidence of this team and what makes this particular team so unique. I know it's early, but there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, our culture is based on honesty, and we try to, we have a very open, not just an open door policy with our coaching staff, but we really encourage our guys to learn how to become leaders and be able to speak to one another peer to peer. And what comes from that is guys develop the ability to have honest conversations with each other. And that part's exciting for me because, the guys are really the ones that drive the bus and their expectations and what they want to see from a season. And when you get a group of guys who feel comfortable with one another and can be honest with each other, and I think then the expectations become more about, hey, this is what we want to do as a group. Forget me individually, and let's see how selfless we can be as a group to go all in on this thing. And so that's our culture. It's based on honesty and positivity. Also, real frank feedback in terms of how we can get better and how each guy can get better. And we really encourage our guys to have open ears, always be learners, and I think that's part of it. And then the other piece is, we've been able to, this year's group, we've got a lot of guys that have been with us for a little bit. So we're a little bit older. And with that, comes that experience that you need. And I think that carried us too in a tough environment last weekend, 7,000 people and man, Texas A&M and College Station. And that environment is so special. It was a real treat for our guys to be able to experience it. It was a treat for me. I mean, it's a unique experience. But up for us to be able to go in there and be able to perform with their fans heckling us on Friday night as we go take BP, and they're already pulling out the Twitter feeds and the Instagram, and it's fun stuff, man. But it can also be unnerving, and I think our older guys were just kind of settled, and they knew that it was really what was what was going to happen between the lines, and they were able to, so for most part, limit the distractions and allow themselves to perform. And so luckily we had an older group, I think, that helped going into that type of environment.
Yeah, I like that. We're talking with Geoff Loomis. And Geoff, I'm going to wrap on this Portland Pilots. So I'm calling 3 games over the weekend in the SEC in Arkansas. And on Friday, we're talking about your team. On Saturday, we're talking a little bit about your team. And on Sunday, you almost swept the series, and we were talking about you again. And I turned to my analyst. I said, what do you know about Portland baseball? And there was this long pause, and he said, not a lot, but I know something about them now. And I got a feeling around the country there's a similar thought process. People tune in. Who is this Portland team? Who's the coach? Let me learn a little bit about these guys. Is there anything that we need to know about your program or your team that you haven't already discussed? We'll give you the floor to say something about your program, your players, as a way to wrap, because obviously you were kind of the story around college baseball this week.
Well, I appreciate that. We honestly try to surround ourselves with the best people possible. It includes our staff outside of it, the administrators here, and just try to get great kids and their families to come to Portland and enjoy the college baseball experience. And I think what's really cool about what we do, and it's not unique just to us, but how important academics are to our guys. And, we had a 3.45 cumulative team GPA this fall. That's 37 guys, 38 guys that you put all 38 of those guys together in a private school environment. And it kind of shows you the dedication that they have. And it's the best of both worlds for me. And that's kind of how we go about it. You're going to get a chance to play at a very high level baseball in the West Coast Conference. We're constantly playing Pac-12 teams midweek. So our schedule is really tough schedule. And so you get to play at a very high level. And on the back end of this thing, you get to have a degree from a great institution. And hopefully these guys play baseball as long as Hunter played baseball, right? But at some point, baseball ends. And what do you go to? And for these guys, they're going to have a great education, a great college degree, and that'll be the next step in their life. And I hope that it's way down the road for these guys, and that they get to continue to play the game they love for as long as possible. But it's I think it's a testament to our players that they also understand that there's going to be life outside of baseball at some point.
I love it. Coach, thanks for your time. Best wishes for continued success as this season moves forward.
I appreciate it very much, Brett. Thank you guys for having me on.
That's Geoff Loomis from Portland. Also, thanks to Craig Cozart, our Perfect Game college baseball guru, and Coleman Picard of Bryan College, who was the National Pitcher of the Week with 12 strikeouts in 5 innings. But for Hunter Pence, I'm Brett Dolan. Thanks so much for joining us, as always, on Perfect Game College Baseball.